Labor Talks was John DeRozier, recorded at Chippewa Valley Community Television in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Hello and welcome to Labor Talks. Today's special guest is Carolyn Kaiser, who knows a thing or two about labor. She is a field staff representative for AFSCME, that is the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. She's also a delegate on the Greater West Central Area Labor Council. And as I said before, and I'm repeating myself, forgive me, old age is taking command here. She's also very active with AFSCME. Carolyn, welcome to Labor Talks.
Thank you, John, for inviting me.
Good to have you here.
Thanks.
Now, would you please describe your position for AFSCME and what do you do, that type of thing?
Sure. I cover about 20 counties in northwest Wisconsin. Historically, it has been state employees, and now we're getting a little broader. And our goal is for advocacy and education and organizing. So we do a lot of educating in what is a union, per se. We do a lot of advocating to make sure that people are treated fair at work. That's one of our main goals. So.
Okay. And how long have you been a member of AFSCME?
I started with AFSCME as a member and a steward in 1987.
And I will not ask you your age.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that. But would you repeat that? When did you start?
1987.
I see. And let's see. They've had some problems with custodial workers at UW Superior. Is that correct?
Well, the problem really came with an elusive goal that was really not elusive but deliberate from UW President Ray Cross. And he made a decision that they would outsource the custodians and grounds crew at UW Superior. So on May 8th of 2014, about 26 people received at-risk notices. For the next 7 months, they worked in a great emotional toll. They know, the community knew, the county board knew, the city council knew, everyone knew that these were people who were honest and had pride in their work. They found money, they returned laptops, phones, they started students' cars. They had an excellent reputation on grounds. But it was that big corporation money directive of Ray Cross that put blinders and deaf ears upon people who chose and who could make a difference.
Now, would you please describe, you just described what happened to the UW Superior public employees.
Mm-hmm.
They were outsourced, correct?
Yes.
Anything you would like to add to that?
Well, you might say, well, what good came out of that, or how did that really help us out? It was not a win-win situation for the students, for the people. Some people went to the Superior schools, some transferred to Minnesota. But we had a lot of people who are near that age that just were laid off and truly adversely affected. But what was really adversely affected is the university itself. They contracted out with a company from Tennessee. State employees have to have background checks. There's checks and balances in place to see if they can be hired, what they can be hired for. When you outsource to a company from Tennessee, that's a different standard. That was of great concern to the security department at UW Superior. Another issue is fleet policy. State employees have to meet standards in order to drive state vehicles. They have to be trained in scissor lifts, forklifts, bulldozers, all these kinds of things. Just recently here again with SSC, not having to meet standards, $16,000 in repairs of equipment in 2 months. And that's after they've been there a while. The previous state employees came in early, did vacuuming, cleaned bathrooms, things like that before the business started, before the school started. These employees are told to come in during business hours. They may do all the bathrooms in the building at the same time. They may just walk in. They don't knock. They come in. They do things. If you want your office vacuumed, you're asked to put a note on the door if you want your office vacuumed or not. So it's a very, very different environment. But one of the most sad ones is when we had a student who was ill on a Friday night and vomited in the hallway. No one came to clean that up, as the state employee would have been called in to do. But now in our new world, the students took the initiative, put folding chairs up and signs, vomit ahead, move to your left type thing. That's a safety concern. That's infection control. What do we want for our future here? I think it goes deeper. People need to think about that.
Exactly how many custodians were affected by this job outsourcing?
There were a total of like 22 custodians and 4 groundskeepers, so 26 people were affected.
And you touched a bit on the job performance.
Mm-hmm.
From what I picked up, the job performance has gone from good to bad. Is that correct?
True.
And would you like to amplify on that a little bit?
Well, the training just doesn't seem to be there, and they don't have good leaders. When state employees, they went by a guideline, like take fluorescent lights like you have in the studios. They have mercury in them. So there is a standard, that's an OSHA standard that you have to go by. You mark them, you label them, you put them in a box. There's a process to follow. The new outsourced company just stacks them in a corner in a hallway. No box, no labeling, no anything. So the fact of danger is always around every corner, down every step. That's a scary thing for anyone.
Now, could you just describe the overall effects the budget has had on the University of Wisconsin system, especially the effects on the public employees? Isn't UW Superior, what happened there, just part of the overall picture?
You're right. That was a beginning, and that was a step. And like I say, people there knew it, they recognized their charge, and they took it seriously. What people don't realize, unless you're involved in anything, the nuts and bolts that hold something together. In the university system, it's the administrative support. It's the facility repair people. It's the plumbers. It's the trades unions, the public unions, the custodians, the power plant operators, the locksmith. Those are the people that make things hum. Those are the people that have the things ready for the professors to teach their classes. They're the ones that make the campus safe. And somehow they have just been the forgotten entity, and we need to recognize that they are important and integral in their role.
Now, we're talking about the budget here.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the reason these 26 employees were outsourced was to save money. Was it worth it? And did UW Superior save money, or could they have looked elsewhere?
They messaged that that was their goal, but what they did, when the state is going to outsource something, they have to do what they call an RFP, or request for proposal. We as general public are unable to see that till far down the road. Once we saw that, we could see that request for proposal was flawed. When people came and did a study at UW Superior, they were known to be short-staffed. They said if you were going to really clean properly, even though these people gave it their all, they said, well, really, they're doing more than they should. You should have like 4 more custodians in here. That's what the consulting firm said to them, is for the square footage that they clean and that kind of thing. On their industry standards, their APP benchmarks, you should have 4 more staff. So UW Superior pretended that they hired 4 more staff, and then they put that request for proposal in there and said, see how expensive this is? When that never, ever happened. And the people that worked there were truly flexible. When something came up, they came in at midnight to do the work. Or they felt married to their job. They had pride in it. It does not save money. No, it's sad.
But UW Superior will try to tell the public, yes, we're saving money.
Yes.
But it's under false pretenses. Is that correct?
True.
And as I said before, this is happening on a statewide basis. And I know that there are things that you want to say about this, about the budget overall. So just go right ahead. Feel free. You're amongst friends here.
Well, I think the thing about the budget and the blue collar especially is if you're big money, you believe them to be subservient people. And so that's the group of people that you want to get off first because you think they have the littlest voice and that no one will pay attention. In all due respect, Alex has spent about 40 years in Wisconsin messaging things. And so people fall for that message. Now we are at a breaking point here. We need to learn, we need to educate. The decrease in union membership eludes then the awareness of the common good and what do people fight for. Whether you're a union member or not, when the working people have a voice, industry rules to that voice because you realize I have to treat my employees with respect. But when you decrease that respect, it does not take long for employers to then become bullies, intimidate, become arrogant. And that's what we see today, not only across universities, but in every agency of Wisconsin. You know, Act 10 was enacted to take the commons voice away from people. And people don't, you don't realize change doesn't happen on day one. But they realized it's taken away safety issues, it's increased fear. In some agencies, as soon as I bring up an issue that has merit, they'll start an investigation under me. The contract is really a check and balance. It's management's and labor's checks and balance, and you have a process to follow. This took that check and balance away. After Act 10, as a field rep, and I referenced that one of our roles is for advocacy, when people are disciplined unjustly, we have a hearing about that. We moved from arbitrators to the WERC, which is Wisconsin Employment Relations Commission. And we won cases because they had merit and the employer was overstepping his bounds. They disciplined without meeting just cause. I'd like to read you, and we told people that we won. That angered them. That angered Walker's group. So if I could read just a language from one of the settlements I got, they've put new words in there now that says, neither the employer nor the grievant nor his or her agents may issue any statement for circulation in any media or post any or distribute or otherwise publicize or discuss this settlement agreement or its terms. To do any of the above would negate the agreement. So you've got people in a bind here. We've put people on gag orders. We've put fear in people. The tests of just cause should be for every employee. No one should be fired because they wore a blue shirt or a green shirt. There should be reasons. There should be justifications. It's really the lazy employer when we are going this right road. It has nothing to do with people that are doing the work. They are the experts.
Two questions. How effective has this gag order been?
It's been very effective. People are very scared because people know the rule, but they also have children who need shoes. They also need to buy food for their family. It's tearing people's hearts apart and making people literally ill.
You don't seem to be too frightened of it.
You know, I've kind of like always been a voice, whether I've been in a private job or a public job. And I am fortunate to be in a place where I see how many different agencies are treated. And it's very, very sad. But I feel very sorry for them. We just need to be educating people. And we have to have people that will listen. You know, we need those one-on-one conversations.
Now, there are some things that the former employees did that the current employees are not doing, such as light bulbs, that type of thing, LEDs. I think we're talking about mercury here too, aren't we?
Yep.
Okay. Now, I know a little bit. You know a lot more. Tell me what you got.
Well, if that mercury spills, then what? And if we break light bulbs, then what? I mean, it isn't just
What mercury are we talking about?
inside the fluorescent light bulbs. There
Okay.
is mercury. And it's been a long-standing standard that people label those. They know where the bulbs are. You can't just throw them in the dump. Do we care about the environment? That becomes the next step. And do we care about the air we breathe or the fact that we have clean water? Really, all of it combines, and all of it is step one to step two. I like to think about connecting the dots, and that none of us are here alone. That really, if we care about tomorrow, we will care about these things. People say, oh, I love my children. My question is, how much?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what action are you willing to take?
Now, you mentioned that if a professor wants his or her office vacuumed, they have to put a note on the door.
And office staff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Didn't that used to be routine?
Yes. Yes, it did.
Okay.
Yes.
And does that mean that not only are certain offices not getting cleaned, but general areas at UW Superior not getting cleaned? And doesn't that present a sanitation problem?
Well, you know, what happens is now we can have even less employees because we're doing less work, and yet we're sending a message, yes, that we have an unkept campus, but we try to hide that type thing. So it really, again, is looking at what are our values.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to come down to things that people like you and I probably as a kid, you know, we learned about recycling and all those kinds of things that people nowadays take for granted. And where are we going? That's really the question.
Now, hopefully this is getting out to the public. This has to be done.
Yep.
What can the public do about this? Anything?
We need to be more involved with our legislators, no matter where we live, who our legislators are. We need to go to town hall meetings. We need to write them letters. And when they come back with a standard like answer that's vague, we need to get to the details of it. Then, if we find someone who's willing, and that's really a hard spot because people don't like to put themselves out there at times, but there are a lot of very intelligent people who care about people. We need to support those people in their legislative offices. We need to write the letters to the editor. We need to be proud of the fact when something is clean and support clean air, clean water. And public, you know, we're not here to bastardize teachers. We're thankful that they teach our children. Public employees provide a service, and that should not be forgotten.
Now, you've touched on Act 10. And could you describe its effects a little bit more with public employees, especially, you know, the custodial workers? Has Act 10 had any?
What Act 10 did was take away that common sense approach that we used to have for labor management. That was a major aspect that would never hit the media. But in days before Act 10, the contract provided monthly labor management meetings in some agencies, quarterlies in others. It kind of depended. But the real thing was we sat down at a table. with people who walk the walk and said, this is really our problem. How can we fix it? Our goal is to resolve an issue. When Act 10 came and they pretended that unions didn't exist, they decided and went into this almost fear tactic of, oh, we can't talk to you. I still get emails from people who are like, well, I can't talk to you, or people who will choose not to answer me, in the employer ranks.
Now, when you say they can't talk to you, who is they?
In my line of work, it would be people like human resources managers from the different agencies.
Mm-hmm.
That is my main line of, or employee relations people from the Office of State Employment Relations has really downsized. Their job role has really diminished to mere nothing.
So because of Act 10, when they say, when human resources people say we can't talk to you, they mean it. Because of Act 10, we can't talk to you.
No, they use that as an excuse.
Thank you very much. They do.
Yeah.
They get to hide behind it.
Yep.
Just come right out and say it. That's what they're doing. Okay. What about right to work? Has that had any effect on public employees?
Right to work is such a misnomer, I always think. And it's been a confusing saga for as long as I've been around. What people really, you want to think, oh yeah, we want the right to work. But in reality, right to work is really taking away your voice. And it is, again, not giving the regular person who works the respect to know that he does his job, you're getting trained, we want a quality job done.
Well, let's come right out and say it. Right to work simply means right to work for less, period.
Yes.
That's it. How come you didn't say that?
I'm trying to be kind.
Well, I've never seen this side of Carolyn before. No, I'm just teasing, okay? Now, is there anything else you'd like to add? Because I know before we started this half-hour segment, you mentioned there were several things that you would really like to mention. So if we left them out, this is a darn good time to bring it out. And don't be kind. Just tell the damn truth for crying out loud.
We are in Wisconsin with a history in our state of working together and caring for each other. And we need to restart that messaging over and over again. As you alluded to earlier, I do work for ASME. I have been part of ASME since 1987. Each year, one of the things we've offered is a bowling tournament for scholarships for children of ASME people. It's held every April. This spring, we had persons there who work at UW Eau Claire and UW Stout, Communication Workers of America from the Eau Claire area, all traveling to the scholarship tournament, and all in support of people's children. That is working together, hoping that your children gets a good education.
Now, would you hold that newspaper up, please? Okay, here. See, this is ASME Report. It has real news. It has very real news. You won't find the news in here. The news that is in here, you won't find it necessarily in your mainstream press. I strongly recommend that you try and find out, Carol, this is where you come in,
Okay.
where you can get a copy of ASME Report. I've read it. It's good. It really is good. So, if I wanted to subscribe, how would I do it?
If you wanted to, you would contact ASME at 8033 Excelsior Drive, Madison, Wisconsin, 53717. I guess I would just like to say in the one other thing about outsourcing, and that's outsourcing in general.
Mm-hmm.
And outsourcing, the winner in that is really Walker's campaign. It's a deliberate plan that to lessen each person's thoughts of themselves or respect of themselves. We do not have to go like that. We could respect and should respect people. But he has proven that if you donate to his campaign, he will take care of you. Over and over and over again, that has been proven. What has happened with the WERC, and I said we have won cases, then they put the language in the settlement, and now what's happened is he's been in office long enough, and his authority, he gets to name the commissioners. So they are not biased, objective commissioners anymore. They are slanted to him. So people, the education will never stop, that there is always something we need to learn because we need to turn this around.
Now, we have about 2 minutes to go.
Okay.
So is it safe to say that Governor Walker is not only taking orders from the Koch brothers, who are billionaires and who have very little interest in people like us, but also from an organization called the American Legislative Exchange Commission, and that's a group of millionaires who are telling governors and other people how to run the country?
Yes, Walker is really a puppet. He's a puppet of the money. You know, in reality, it is the self-serving groups of the ALEC and the Sheldon Adelsons, those types of people who are just truly getting their word out, and if people fall down and get clamped under that, they will be their puppet. He's great at being a puppet. But we need to have the rank and file Wisconsin people, the Wisconsin workers, respected and recognized as people. We are not serfs. You know, their goal is to dumb us down, to not allow us to do critical thinking. We can rise above that, and we are rising.
When Walker talks about tax cuts, primarily he's talking about large tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires and peanuts for the rest of us. Is that accurate?
That's very accurate. And you know what I hear media saying is we're going to get a $5 property tax cut and yada yada. Once I really read the article, if you own a $200,000 house, you will get $4.30 or $4.50. Someone like me, I don't live in a $200,000 house. So, like, am I going to get $2? What is that? Even if we all put our $2 together, what could we do for education? It would be phenomenal.
Okay. Well, that's our program for today.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
Just come to Labor Council, ask questions of labor people, really care about your neighbor next door.
Also, would you care to tell the public when and where the Labor Council meets?
The Greater West Central Area Labor Council meets at the Labor Temple in Eau Claire, which is located on the corner of Birch Street and Hastings Way. We meet the second Thursday of the month at 7 p.m.
And the address is 2233 Birch Street. Carolyn, we're friends, by the way. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Doug.
Chippewa Valley Community Television is made possible by continuing community support. If you would like to volunteer or make a donation, you can contact us by calling 715-839-5067 or on the web at www.cbctv.org.